Arsenal had the best defence in the Premier League last year, and they are about to sign Riccardo Calafiori from Bologna. Today we're going to be taking a look at how the Gunners could set up with Calafiori and why he could make the best defence in the Premier League even better. Riccardo Calafiori is exactly the kind of player that Arsenal need to be going for. The mandate and the requirements for both a centre-back and or a left-back in this modern game is very different to what it used to be. And Riccardo Calafiori is one of the perfect fits for this kind of requirement and system. Let me explain what I mean. And I wanted to really showcase Calafiori's heat map for his team Bologna. This is from last season, and there are a couple of things from this heat map that I think are really interesting. So first of all, we can see that he's played as a centre-back for the most part. He's played in and around this area, but he's also played as a left-back. But some of the things that we notice here are really impressive. First of all, the actual width in which he is playing. That's really impressive because he's not only comfortable at being a centre-back but also comfortable at being a left-back. The flexibility in these positions are really important. At around about 22 years of age, it's really impressive that he's so comfortable with being in different parts of the pitch. The second thing that is really interesting is the depth in which he is going up and down the pitch. Now, with a lot of centre-backs, you tend to see the profile of place to be around about here. If he is in a more possession-based team, it might be a little bit further forwards, but generally it would be in and around this area. The fact that he is so happy to be so deep and so high up the pitch on numerous amounts of occasions is really impressive. Bologna actually operated with the system that allowed Calafiori to move into midfield on occasion to really pick up the ball and be in better scenarios. This tucked the left back in and then allowed for the ball to be rotated through these different positions, bringing players through into play and really holding off a number of different areas. Now, this allowed Bologna to play a more expansive and really high-risk style of football, but Calafiori played a perfect role in this. In moving into midfield from that centre-back role, it opened up a number of different channels and pockets of space, and it's through this that I believe Arsenal can really start to glean what kind of a player they're going to get. Not only is he really impressive in holding the ball, but also the depth that he's got going up the pitch will really help with Arsenal's high possession game further up the pitch. And then when we take a look at some of his defensive statistics, he's not just going to be a player that needs to really just be on the ball continuously. He's also very good at defending. So if we take a look at this, he wins 63% of his total duels. That's 4.9 per match. 2.9 ground duels per 90 as well. That's 58% completion rate. But he's got a 71% completion rate when it comes to aerial duels, which is also really impressive, not only for a centre-back, but especially for a left-back. He's got pretty much everything: pace, power, the ability to win duels, and also comfortability on the ball and with different positions without the ball. He really has it all. Arsenal's development of their defence is so very interesting to see. We have the mainstays in this Arsenal back five. David Raya has obviously re-signed with Arsenal on a permanent deal. You've got Ben White out at right back. I don't think he's being displaced. You absolutely do not want to remove the Gabriel and Saliba partnership. As we've previously said, the best defence in the Premier League. But there's always been a bit of a question mark over the left back spot. 18 months ago, it was, of course, Alexander Zinchenko. The ability for him to come into this side and then move in field gave Arsenal a better backbone from that centre of the pitch to be a little bit more creative. It was through Zinchenko that a lot of plays started to unfold and a lot of real creative habits started to become a really good asset for Arsenal. However, going back the other way, it became a bit of a problem. The left back spot was left vulnerable at times, and Zinchenko's lack of a defensive ability really did hamper them in some occasions. So because of this and a couple of injury woes, a real look towards a more defensive resolute option was seen. Ben White going forwards a little bit more and allowing for a back three of Kiwior, Gabriel and Saliba did start to take hold. But then even with that ability for Ben White to go forwards, Kiwior did start to make his way into the centre of the park, and it allowed Arsenal to again get on the ball and maintain possession, utilising this box formation that we all know. However, there was a problem with Kiwior going forwards, and that was that his attacking passing and his attacking movement wasn't necessarily as good as Alexander Zinchenko. So you have one really defensive player and you have one really attacking player, and there needs to be some kind of middle ground. Of course, Arsenal fans will look towards the signing of Jurrien Timber as that answer. However, I don't particularly think that he was signed to be Arsenal's attacking left back, or even their defensive left back. I think Mikel Arteta has a completely different idea for him, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But Timber really did start to show some promise, moving into midfield really comfortably. His ability to go on the ball and off the ball and really make Arsenal tick from this left-hand side was super refreshing to see. Of course, he got that horrendous injury and that halted any kind of progress that he was ever going to have. But as I said previously, I still think that Timber's actual position in this Arsenal side isn't going to be at left back towards the end. And then you look towards the likes of Tomiyasu, who is brought in every now and again to really shore things up. But once again, I don't think that having a right footer on the left hand side is something that Mikel Arteta is really going to look towards. And in fact, when you look at this Arsenal setup, you do start to see a pattern unfold when it comes to Arsenal's defence. If you move away from the midfield and really look towards this back four, you're going to start to see some really interesting things happen. So when we think about this Arsenal real back four, you've got Gabriel and Saliba, who are never going to be moved because they are the best players in their positions at this football club. But when we look at the left back and right back slot, what kind of attributes are you looking for? You're looking for them to be comfortable on the ball, but also make sure that they're able to play a multitude of positions. And this is where you have Jurrien Timber come in. I believe that Jurrien Timber is meant to be the understudy, or have the ability to swap with Ben White. Because of this, both of them can then go and play at centre-back if Saliba or Gabriel happen to become injured. And in that particular case, you want a right footer on the right-hand side, and hopefully you're seeing where I'm going with this. In having a right footer in Timber on the right hand side at right back and as a right centre back option, you have a multitude of ability to be able to change and swap things around when necessary. Mikel Arteta, or one of his biggest problems that he had last season, was the fact that he didn't rotate his squad anywhere near enough, and this led to some of them becoming a little bit depleted towards the end of that season. However, if you had the personnel with the quality and the ability to rotate and go through the side, I think you're going to see a lot more freshness within the group later down the line. And the same can be said for Gabriel. Currently, I believe it is Kiwior, who currently, of course, applies his trade at left back, but can replace Gabriel at left centre back if it's ever required. But I don't think there's a particular trust there. And that's where I believe Calafiori really does come in. Not only can he fulfill his stint out at left back, and we'll go into a number of different ways in which he can do that from that left back position, but he also has the ability to play as a left centre back, which means that if Gabriel ever becomes injured, you're always going to have a natural left-footed replacement in this side. I think he's got the height, the power, the speed, and the ability on and off the ball to really make that replacement and not have Arsenal's quality drop too much. I think far too many people are focusing on the fact that Arsenal need to have a proper starting 11, and instead of looking towards players that might be able to fill particular roles to allow the team to progress forwards. So if we move all of these players through, we can now start to see that there are actually a number of different players that can be allocated to a number of different positions if you split the left side and the right side. So you've got your right-footed players, you've got your left-footed players, and all of a sudden you're starting to see a balance. Whether you rotate through into a centre-back position or a left-back position, every player is comfortable, and that is the most important thing because it maintains the balance of the side, and that is exactly where Calafiori will fit in. Arsenal fans, if you're not excited about Riccardo Calafiori, you really should be. Let me give you an example why. This is in the game that Bologna had against Juventus last season. So a Juventus player currently has the ball, he's in defence, he's driving out of it, and he's going to try and play the ball through into his striker. But what we're going to see next is how aggressive and really tenacious Calafiori actually is. So Vlahovic drops deep for the ball, but if you can see here where I've highlighted, Calafiori is actually really tight to him. He's really tenacious, making sure that he at the very least puts off Vlahovic when trying to control the ball. And if we forward on just a little bit more, he actually makes some kind of a challenge and it actually ricochets back towards Juventus's own goal. This allows and makes sure that a turnover happens, and once this turnover happens, it ends up going to a Bologna player who's then able to spin in beyond and start attacking the opposition goal. But does Calafiori really feel accomplished with that? Does he feel complete with that? No. Instead, I want you to watch him right here. Look at this. Instead of just being happy with the work that he's done, which has been very good up until this point, he then takes it upon himself to drive forwards, giving an extra option in attack. Look at this. This is sensational. Arsenal fans, this is the kind of play you're getting. Somebody who is not willing to rest on his laurels. So somebody who's not willing just to stand still. He drives forwards. He's got that proactive ability, and this will be what Mikel Arteta and his team have seen. The ability for him to be really dynamic, going forwards as well, making sure that he's able to try to make some kind of an impact. And then we see this. The ball gets ricocheted back, but does Calafiori stop? No, he does not. He continues forwards. It's really, really impressive. I really like this from him. He manages to get onto the ball, and then you're asking, what can he do? What can he do once he enters the penalty area right here? What can he do? He is sensational. He actually ends up chipping the goalkeeper, something you'll see in the image that comes up. He chips the goalkeeper perfectly to score for Bologna. Remember, he's a centre-back, or he could play as a left-back, a centre-back or a left-back, but it's because of this tenacious ability, his real drive to go forwards, and his unwillingness to be satisfied with one singular piece of good play. He's willing to do more. He wants to do more, and that is a perfect sign for an Arsenal player. For me, one of the best things that Calafiori brings into this Arsenal side is balance, and it's one of the best attributes that I think he can provide to this Arsenal starting 11. I don't think it's all about starting 11s nowadays. I think it's more about the squad and the average level of the squad. But if we were to talk about a starting 11, because I know a lot of people like it, we are going to see Calafiori line up as a left back. I see this because I can't see Arsenal destabilising the partnership that Gabriel and Saliba have, and really the comfortability that all of these players have in this system. Ben White, I think, is going to stay at right back. I've mentioned previously about Yuri and Timber. I can see Timber coming in as well, and that adds its own little bit of dynamism. If you want me to do something on that, let me know in the comment section below. But generally, from a Calafiori point of view, there are a number of different attributes that he could bring. Number one, when we speak about Calafiori going forwards, he's very comfortable at moving in field, partnering up with the central defensive midfielder in this Arsenal 4-3-3 system, and that allows Arsenal to create a back three. Not only does it allow Arsenal to create a back three, but it also keeps and maintains the balance. If you look at this, you've got Gabriel with his left foot, you've got Saliba with his right foot, and you've got Ben White with his right foot. Saliba's in the centre, Ben White is on the right, and Gabriel is on the left, maintaining those passing lanes. Once more, if you think about the way that Arsenal would set up and the way they would start to build in possession, you also need to look at the way that they could start to build up. And that means looking at the progression that they have through the side. So if I was to cut the pitch in half and we were to look at the left-hand side and the right-hand side, what's really important is that Gabriel's left-footed, Calafiori is left-footed, Saliba's right-footed, and Ben White is right-footed. Now what this gives and what this allows is for better passing lanes. You can have reverse passes in with Ben White's right foot. You can have reverse passes in with Calafiori's left foot. Gabriel can do exactly the same. They could pass on the outside. And the balance within the side is so extremely important depending on the preferred foot for the player. So having two left footers and two right footers gives Arsenal just a natural better balance. Now we spoke about Calafiori going infield, but the same could be said for the other side of the pitch. And just watch what happens here, because if Ben White moves into midfield, as we've seen him do previously last year, he could also move higher up the pitch, but in this particular instance, we've got him coming infield to partner with Partey in this current moment. Calafiori is acting as a left centre-back. Again, a very comfortable role for him as a centre-back. Left-footed, you've got Gabriel with his left foot, but he's playing as a centre. And then you've got Saliba on this right-hand side, who's obviously right-footed. Once again, comfortable passing lanes, making sure that they're able to go through, and then you've got the ability for Arsenal to build up. It allows for this box system and formation to really come to the forefront once more, but at the same time you've got a left-footed pass over to the left-hand channel, you've got a right-footed pass over to the right-hand channel, and you've got a lot of consistency. And it's this consistency and balance I think is so very important when you look at this Arsenal setup. Arsenal have taken a lot of things from Manchester City, and this is yet another one. The ability for a centre-back who's good as a centre-back to be able to play as a left-back because of his added physicality, because of his added ability on the ball, and its build-up of play that is going to allow Arsenal to progress forwards with that extra balance. It's incredibly important and allows for a more well-suited, well-rounded group and progression through the pitch. And there you have it, guys. That is how I believe Riccardo Calafiori could set up and fit in within this Arsenal team, having the ability to be both a progressive centre-back and also a really high-quality left-back. His flexibility in these roles is going to become imperative going into the season and also towards the latter stages for this Arsenal side if they're going to be competing for a number of honours. But my question to you is, how do you believe he could fit into this side? Let me know your thoughts on Riccardo Calafiori and his move to Arsenal in the comments section below. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.